8 games and counting for the Big 12's all-time hitting streak record holder, Campbell, with a 1-out single. The runners at first and second. The 1-2. Runners going, and the ball's hit down the left field line. Fair ball. In to score for Texas. Peyton Powell coming home. Dylan Campbell, an RBI double for the G-Wagon. Garrett Gilmette, and Texas grabs a 5-3 lead. Here's the first pitch to Flores. Swings here and lifts a high fly ball to dead center. Back to the warning track. And you can say goodnight to it. Grand slam home run. J-Flo sends it out of the ballpark. And the Longhorns have blown this thing open with a 9-run bottom of the third. It's 9-3 Texas. Here's the stretch from Hurley, and the pitch swung on it, a ground ball up the middle. It could be 2. A step on the bag from O'Dowd for 1. Relay to first in time. Double play. Inning over. 4-3 on the double play. Yo-Yo Morales is 0 for 3, and the Longhorns are out of trouble in the 5th. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Strike 3 called. Got him looking. Back-to-back strikeouts. Nightmare. Zane Morehouse authoring 2 big outs in the 7th. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Morehouse to the stretch, and the 2-2 pitch to Blake Sear. Swing and a miss! He struck him out! Ball game is over. The Texas Longhorns are headed for the NCAA Super Regionals. Morehouse working around a walk, records all 3 outs in the 9th by strikeout, and Zane Morehouse winds up with 7 strikeouts in 2 1/3 innings. In the 9th, no runs, no hits, and a man left. The final score from Coral Gables, Florida, in what is now the final game played here this year. The Texas Longhorns 10, the Miami Hurricanes 6. Texas is headed for the Super Regionals.
How about that, huh? Your Texas Longhorns going 3-0 in the Coral Gables Regional. They're advancing to the Super Regionals, where they'll face the winner of Stanford and, oh yeah, little brother, Texas A&M. Good Monday morning to you, Cameron Parker. Waiting for Craig Way to call in. He's getting ready to board up, and the Texas baseball team going to head back to Austin. They'll be in the air here shortly, but Craig going to join us here in just a minute to recap what a great weekend it was for Texas baseball. Remember, they swept West Virginia, got a share of the Big 12 championship, thought, okay, heating up, baby, heating up. Get to the Big 12 tournament where they were the number 1 seed, a chance possibly to host, and 2 in barbecue. Yeah, did not look good. Matched up against number 8 Miami and their regional, a really good Louisiana team, and took the first game 4-2. Had to come back. They did it. 2 outstanding plays. Eric Kennedy, who robbed a 3-run homer and was actually overshadowed by Dylan Campbell, making possibly the play of the weekend in college baseball, that diving grab out to his left. Oh, man, what a play by DC, who, by the way, extended his hit streak now to 38 games. What a season for Dylan Campbell, but Texas still had work to do. Took on Miami on Saturday. And how about LeBaron Johnson? Texas had not had a complete game pitching performance all year long. And what does LBJ do? 9 innings, 7 hits allowed, but 1 run that was earned, 8 strikeouts to 3 walks. He was the MVP of the regional. What a performance from LeBaron Johnson, as Texas took the game 4-1. And now, I believe Craig Way will be joining us live on the Vaqueros Cantina hotline. Craig?
Hey, good morning, Cam. How are you?
I'm doing great. You?
Good. It's the usual scramble when it happens, the morning after play is completed, be it in a conference tournament or a regional in this case, or a super regional or Omaha, where if you're traveling, in the team travel party, you got to get your bags downstairs, get all that taken care of. There, rental car stuff to return, all of those kinds of things, and just getting ready to get out of town. And the Longhorn baseball team doing that today. They're all, getting their bags downstairs. They'll load up. The flight will be early this afternoon, but all the preparations being made for this Texas team to head home with that regional championship in tow.
And for a weekend that was filled with delays and weather issues, it must have been nice to actually play that game yesterday on time and get done on time.
Yeah, it wasn't without a little bit of concern and drama, because you understand this, because you have done many games where you set up equipment. You even talked about it earlier this year, that game over at Vista Ridge, I think, when you were doing the Round Rock game, and you're worried about the rain, and there's maybe there's a little awning or umbrella, or maybe you're out in the elements or whatever, and you're kind of concerned. Roger Wallace and I literally set up 3 times on Friday, took down twice. We had the original setup, covered it up, it was rainy, took it all down and took it inside.
Oh.
Came back out, set it up again. Rain came again, took it inside. And then the third time, and you're just kind of looking around. They had little canopy awnings over the area where we were broadcasting, and we were outside the whole weekend. It was a nice setup, the table and stuff where we were, but you were still kind of out in the elements if the rain starts blowing in. We went through a very similar thing on Saturday with the delay Saturday night. And to your point, it was good that both games, both the Louisiana-Miami elimination game Sunday afternoon and then the Texas-Miami regional final, both started on time. There was concern. There was a little bit of drippiness. We actually broke down the equipment once and then put it back up, kind of covered things up with some trash bags and towels and things like that. And then it finally kind of moved out of the area. And then I will tell you, Cam, and Roger brought it up, and we mentioned it late in the game, there was a nasty-looking system out to the southwest. And we were thinking, let's just go ahead and see if this thing can get finished, get played in. And they did. And after it was done, and when the team left and came back to the hotel and got something to eat, and I sat around with the coaches for a bit, Roger and I did, and visited with them for a while. Then when I went back up to my room to send in the morning and afternoon reports and a couple other things, when I went to do that, the skies opened up. And it came a gully washer last night. Now, today, it has been forecast all along. Today is a beautiful day. But I'm just glad Texas doesn't have to play today one final game to decide this regional.
And when you're resetting or setting stuff back up and taking it back down, I mean, it's unsettling, Craig, because you're trying to get prepared for the broadcast, and you really can't because you're worried about your equipment getting damaged.
Yeah, it puts a delay. And then if you add into the mix, while that was going on, especially, this didn't happen yesterday, but especially Friday and Saturday, you're trying to do the timing of when to go down and record the pregame interview with Coach Pierce, because they have certain times that work best for them, either when the team is hitting or not hitting. Well, that gets affected if they have to hit indoors as opposed to hitting on the field. And, they had practice on Thursday on the field, batting practice. That's the only time they took batting practice on the field, the entire time. Every other time they had to hit indoors. They were able to take infield, outfield on the field. So, yeah, they worked. I'll tell you this, as unpredictable, or unfortunately as predictable as the weather can be this time of year down here. As they say, it's the rainy season when you get to starting late spring into the summer, and you can almost take it to the bank that it's going to rain during the afternoon and into the evenings. When that happens, this tournament group, by and large, I thought did a fabulous job. The grounds crew was really good. The tournament management staff did, I think, a great job. They made everybody, and I'm talking about Louisiana and Maine's represented their teams, their media. They made everybody feel very, very welcome and a part of the whole deal. I've been asked a lot about this, Cam. The only wheels off kind of moment was in the 9th inning when Yo-Yo Morales came to the plate, and the PA guy, who is Miami's PA guy, and you knew it all the way through, no matter who they were playing, no matter whether they were the home or the visitor, he was going to be more amped up for the Hurricanes. And you're not supposed to be by NCAA rules. You're supposed to be neutral. But when he said, well, it could be the final time, it is about Yo-Yo Morales, and the fans are going, it's like, really? You did that, huh? And David Pierce and the coaching staff thought it was kind of odd as well in the dugout. We were talking about it last night. Well, when I went into the press box after the game to get a couple of things, final boxes, The press box staff was not happy with that dude doing that. They said, "Oh, he had to make it about himself. He had to do that, and you know all that stuff." So they were not happy at all about that one guy. But that was very small potatoes. Otherwise, they did a great job. They know what they're doing in terms of how to run a regional, especially when you got to work it around the rain down here. So I got nothing but salute and praise for the game ops, the game management people, and the NCAA representatives who all made it happen down here.
And speaking of impressive play, how are the Texas Longhorns, Craig, huh?
Well, it's that deal, Cam, about, when everybody is playing together, that whole sum of the parts thing. And David Pierce has said that all along, that, it's when the team is all together, doing all the things, pitching, hitting, defense, they can be pretty special. And when they had to have other guys step up in moments, the pitching, you think about it, they used 5 pitchers for 3 ball games. That was it. I mean, you had Lucas Gordon for 7 innings and Zane Morehouse for 2 on Friday. You had that complete game from LeBaron Johnson on Saturday. And then, of course, you started off with Tanner Witt, had him out there, and then Tanner just didn't have command of the breaking ball. And so he was out after 2 innings. Charlie Hurley did a fine job in 4 1/3. And then Nightmare was lights out. I mean, Morehouse was tremendous the rest of the way. So when all of that's happening, the defense we saw, obviously the outfield play drew all the raves and the talk, but the infield played really well too. There were a couple errors last night, but they also turned a couple of tough plays as well. And then it's about the timely hitting. And they had guys that did long ball. They had guys that just did situational hitting. And this is what I think also said something about this team, Cam. When a guy like Peyton Powell, who entered the weekend as the team's leading hitter, did not have a hit until Sunday night. Now, it was a big one, that RBI single in the 3rd inning, and that tied the score. When you can go the weekend without your leading hitter getting just 1 knock on Sunday night, and that's it. And when you have a guy like Jalen Flores, who's batting under 170 when he hit the grand slam, when you have Mitchell Daly had a good weekend at the plate. All of those guys made a difference, and I think that was important. In addition to, obviously, Dylan Campbell extending the hitting streak, Jared Thomas played well, made all-tournament team. So some of the parts in all 3 areas, and that's why this team is moving on.
And we haven't even mentioned Dylan Campbell's now 38-game hitting streak.
He, you know why? Maybe I would hope folks aren't taking it for granted, and I have to make sure that I don't take it for granted. But some of that is how everybody feeds off Dylan. He so low keys it. He really downplays that whole deal, and it just talks about, hey, whatever the team is doing to do it. It never really seems to bother him much. I mean, he knows he's got the all-time school record. He knows he's got the all-time Big 12 conference record. Does he want to keep it going? Yes, but for the team cause. He's not worried about the number. And I think that's a big part of it, what he's doing, because he's contributing like he was early in the season, even when he wasn't hitting well. Remember, he was batting around 210 or so in early March. So even when he wasn't hitting well, he was finding ways to get on base with a walk or advancing runners, playing stellar play in the outfield like he has all season. He continues to do those things in addition to the fact that obviously he's swinging a record-setting bat for UT right now.
And, of course, Texas fans very interested in tonight's game between A&M and Stanford, Craig. Now, go ahead and just ask you, because I know Texas fans are wondering, what happens, where will they play if it is A&M and Texas in the Super Regionals this weekend?
Yeah, you saw my Facebook post you did.
Yeah.
I posted a photo last night of the Longhorn team celebrating, and I talked about it was great to see this group of guys advance. And then I said, and please, no questions about what would happen if A&M wins who hosts, because I don't know. And it's true. I don't know right now. I will tell you this. And people are asking, well, what's your speculation? What's your guess? And it's truly a 50-50 situation, because you can make cases on both sides. A&M went farther in its conference tournament. A&M, would be winning at a top 8 national seed. Now, the flip side of that is if A&M was sent as a 2 to a top 8 and Texas was sent as a 2 to the number 9, by math, that would indicate that Texas was a higher number 2 because they were sent to a lower number 1. You follow me? So that's one of the things that goes into the consideration. Yes, there was a head-to-head meeting. What was it, March 28th? The Longhorns won that game in College Station. I don't know that necessarily factors in, and nobody needs to bring up anything about money because, first of all, the bids were all due back a few weeks ago. So the bids were already submitted, 1. 2, there's a max, there's a ceiling. So there's not going to be any outbidding of one another. And these two programs are certainly going to bid the max. So that's not a factor either. What's going to be the factor in the minds of the selection committee? First of all, I think it's smart on their part to wait to see what happens tonight, not to go ahead and say, hey, if A, then B. Let it play out. Stanford was impressive in their win last night. They might not win tonight. A&M might win the thing, and then they have to make a decision. They'll have to make a call. But they'll be ready to make that call, and I guarantee you that decision will be announced or at least put on the NCAA website or whatever late tonight. When that game ends, it'll be out there because they don't want that thing dying. And then it's going to bring about all the speculation. That is, if A&M wins tonight, and that's certainly not a guarantee, especially when you look around the regionals and see all the stuff that's happening. You got a 4-seed Oral Roberts having advanced. You've got a 4-seed Penn with a chance to advance today if they can win one more time against Southern Miss after they lost to them last night. You've got 3 seeds that advanced. So it's all up for grabs right now. There are 7 regionals still to be decided today.
Does capacity play a part? Because for those who are probably going to say it, Disch-Falk does seat about 500 people more than Bluebell.
It does not. It would not. And not when you get to ballparks that size. Remember, there's a bid process. There's a guarantee that's going to be made there. So that will not factor into it at all. Both are large enough ballparks. Both are larger than most of the other ballparks of the teams that are still playing in regionals right now. Larger than the ballpark for the number 1 overall national seed, Wake Forest. Larger than Sunken Diamond in Palo Alto. Larger than Terre Haute, Indiana, where Indiana State is going to host a super if TCU can beat Arkansas one time in 2 tries today. Indiana State would host TCU. If the Razorbacks win both of theirs, then they would host Indiana State. And Arkansas's ballpark is bigger than Disch-Falk. That Baum Walker Field's about a 10,000 seat park. It's a really nice ballpark. But most of the teams that would host super regionals, their ballparks are smaller than either UFCU Disch-Falk Field or Bluebell Park. So that will not be a factor.
And outside of the Coral Gables regional and the Stanford regional, the biggest one to me, Craig, was the Kentucky dorm room regional, where right now there's a winner-take-all game tonight, 5 p.m., Indiana in Kentucky. Now, I'm guessing you weren't in the dorm room this weekend in Miami, were you?
No, it was a pretty nice team hotel.
That's good.
Here. So it was, no problem there. And while I do sympathize with the West Virginia guys and stuff like that, the beef should not be that West Virginia should have hosted, because they were in a free fall. You look at what happened to the Mountaineers. They wound up losing 7 of their last 8 games. Got swept by Texas, lost both games in the Big 12 tournament, dropped the regional opener, won an elimination game, and then got smoked by Kentucky in the final. They wound up losing 7 of their last 8. That wasn't the point. The point was whether Kentucky should have been allowed to host, knowing that music festival was coming in, that they had state high school spring sport championships, and that there was going to be a veritable dearth of hotel rooms. It wasn't about hotel rooms for Morgantown. They've got some nice hotels, believe it or not, Morgantown. They got a really nice Marriott that sits on the Monongahela River. They've got a couple of courtyards by Marriott and Hilton Garden Inn where the football team has stayed before. They've got hotels. That's not the issue. They were never going to be considered for hosting a regional, especially after they went belly up against Texas and then 2 in barbecue in the Big 12 tournament. That wasn't the issue. The question was who deserved to host more, be it Southern Miss or Campbell. And I think it'd be one of those. Campbell got to its regional final. They were behind the 8 ball after dropping the regional opener to NC State there in Columbia and had to fight their way back through to the final. They did, but could not overcome South Carolina. And then Southern Miss has had to bounce back through in that Auburn regional, and they have a chance to advance with a win today over Penn. I think one of those two probably should have been the host, but that was one of the big themes. The other big theme to me, Cam, is Oral Roberts. That said all along, Oral Roberts was a 4 seed that should not have been a 4 seed, and the reason why they were was geographic purposes. That's why the whole deal about using the math to decide who should host a regional for Texas and Texas A&M based on where they were does not always apply, because the baseball tournament selection committee uses geography in its selection, unlike the men's basketball tournament, which picks, the 4 1 through 16s for each region. Baseball, they say they can balance the bracket. So by doing that geographically, they assign Oral Roberts to go 70 miles over to Tulsa, from Tulsa over to Stillwater, an ORU team that had already beaten, Oklahoma State. Now, the trade-off for that, Cowboys got to host a regional. They just didn't step up and perform well, especially against Dallas Baptist. ORU, I understand, but to lose and to just get launched into the sun by DBU, they just hit a bad spot and went out. Auburn was another school that some folks thought maybe should not have hosted. They went 2 and barbecue in their own regional. Like I said, they lost to Penn and then got knocked out by Southern Miss. So those are the themes, I think, that come through it. Oral Roberts is going to have to go. ORU will have to go to UO. They're going to go to Eugene to play the Oregon Ducks, who won that Nashville regional. So those are some of the themes that stuck out of my mind throughout the course of this weekend.
Yeah, and before we hit the break, Craig, I want to open up the Specs text line, 512-337-3776. A question for you was asked, what are the chances that Tanner Witt and LBJ come back for another year of experience?
I would say, I would say the odds are against it, but not out of the question. Obviously, both are draft eligible redshirted sophomores. There's a reason why when Tanner Witt came back on May 1st, that Monday afternoon game in Fort Worth, that there were at least 50 scouts clumped together or directly behind home plate with radar guns pointed right at Tanner Witt. They're evaluating because they know he's got big league stuff. We've said that all along about LBJ, that he's got big league stuff. It was about controlling it as well. There's no doubt in my mind they'll be drafted. They'll both be drafted. The question is, where will they be drafted? And would it matter to them? Same thing with Lucas Gordon, by the way, who is draft eligible as a junior. They'll all be drafted. The question is, where will they be drafted? And will it be enough to entice them to sign a professional contract? I think that's where it comes in. And those are the decisions they have to make with their families and representatives and things like that. But they'll all be drafted.
Yeah. And a nice message from female listener 19 real quick that she said, Craig, let the tell her as a new female listener who has listened to Texas baseball for the last few years, a senior citizen that has has visual impairment for the past few years as well. And when the Texas would make it to the College World Series, she would take a bracket to Kinko's and had it blown up to poster size so she knows when and who the Horns are playing. Hope I'll be doing that again this year, Hook'em. So a real nice message for you.
Absolutely. I'm glad to hear that, listener. And all that means when you get it, when somebody says something like that, Cam, all that means is, and it's very nice to them, what that means is that I did my job. And it means that Roger did his job. We did our job on the broadcast. If we can make it to where folks can get a visual enough picture of what's going on, then you've done your job as a broadcaster. And that's all we want to do. Hey, pack up that lunch pail and go to work. And whether that's going to work in Palo Alto or College Station or a UFCU dish fog field, wherever it is, we'll be ready to roll.
And Craig, safe travels today. You'll be back on tomorrow and the rest of this week, correct? Until we decide or when we find out when the Super Regionals will take place?
I'll definitely be on tomorrow. We'll see. I mean, if they have to go to Palo Alto, that will depend. The departure date and time will depend on whether that's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday Super Regional or a Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Remember, it's staggered for the Supers. Half of the field plays Friday through Sunday. The other half plays Saturday through Monday. And for folks who say, well, the game in Palo Alto, since it's being decided tonight, that means it'll be Saturday through Monday. Not necessarily. Remember, there are seven regionals to be decided. I would say the odds are in favor of a Texas A&M Super beginning on Saturday for a number of reasons. And right at or near the top of the list is the fact that A&M has, I think, the longest distance to travel after a night game on the West Coast. So that, I think, that they take all of those things into account. So I'd say the chances are decent. It would be a Saturday, Sunday, Monday Super Regional, but it would not surprise me if it was the other way around. It is, after all, the NCAA we're talking about.
Yeah, we're all very excited to find out. Craig, safe travels back. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Thanks. Appreciate it. We'll see you.
I'll see you, Craig. All right, Inconceivable coming up next, plus Longhorn Notebook with Jeff Howe.
Yeah, I've been here. I've just been hanging out. I
Yeah.
just let Cam take the wheel on that. So good job, Cam.
Oh, thank you, Jeff.
Way to get us through the first segment. Yes, Longhorn Notebook, Cam, I know we've got some football recruiting news to talk about. Yes, Inconceivable is going to close out hour number 1, as it always does. Longhorn Notebook in the second hour. We're going to flex update, all that and more as we roll along on a Monday edition, a Victory Monday edition of Light the Tower on the Horn, live, local, and digital, on the Horn app and at hornfm.com.
Here in South Florida, they always are concerned about the weather and rain and thunderstorms, and that is the concern going into this baseball regional this weekend. But I will also tell you, late spring storms are also a concern in Austin. And you've heard me tell you about Divided Sky Roofing and Solar and how we all know they do great roofs, but they're also a full-service solar company. And now we're about to get into our hottest season, and we all know that's when higher power bills start arriving. So why not be prepared and save money this summer with a new Timberline solar shingle roof? Or maybe you already have a solar system, but no backup battery. Well, then you'd be wasting money, because with a backup battery, you're able to use all of the power that you make instead of giving it back to the power company. But batteries are now covered by the Inflation Reduction Act, so you get that tax credit, and we can all certainly use that. John Hardy and his staff are solar experts. They can repair and service your existing solar system. You know, the other roofers you hear about are just selling you a solar roof. Divided Sky Roofing and Solar can repair and service your existing solar system. They're a true resource, and they help extend the life of your system. Trust your roofing and solar needs to the experts. Our friends at Divided Sky Roofing and Solar, 512-995-ROOF. It's TEC license number 37397, or check them out on the web at dividedskyaustin.com.
How much money do you think DJ Khaled has made off this song?
Way too much money.
Royalties and everything else. People that have borrowed it.
Love him
I
or
always
hate
wonder
him.
that.
Love him or hate him. He's a very smart businessman.
That he is. I don't know. Smart is the Texas got smart baseball. Played smart baseball over the weekend. I was trying to find a segue there. It's a little awkward, but I think I made it.
Yeah,
we got
there.
Victory Monday. Texas gets a 10-6 win over Miami to win the Coral Gables Regional. Up next is the to-be-determined Super Regional. Could be here in Austin at UFC Dishwalk Field. Could be in College Station. Could be at Sunken Diamond in Palo Alto. We don't know yet, but we'll know that by the time everybody goes to bed tonight and puts it to rest. I think if you're an A&M fan, Cam, I think you've got to be a little concerned that Stanford has been here before. Last year with my Texas State Bobcats, same situation. Texas State wins the 1-0 game, the winner's bracket game. Then Stanford has to beat the Bobcats twice, and they did it.
Yep.
Texas State was very close to hosting a super regional at Bobcat Ballpark.
Were they a strike away? Or maybe they were a couple outs away, right?
It was close enough to really just
sting. Yeah.
Feel like you got kicked right in the tenders. But that didn't happen, but the Longhorns will be in the super regional. They will again could host, and like Craig said last segment, and I've been asked this too. I don't know. Well, let's go ahead and just carry this conversation over. Let's go ahead and just start and make this the Longhorn Notebook. Thank you, Cam. When you look at Texas and Texas A&M and you look at the resumes, I don't know what the committee is going to use to determine what ultimately separates these two. Because to be grouped into the way the committee grouped them, and again, Craig and I have talked about this for the last few weeks when we talked regional projections, and then we talked about the bracket when it was unveiled a week ago today. You look at how everything is set up. Once you get past those top 16 seeds, those first 16 seeds, nothing else is truly seeded. In some cases it is, but we talk about balance of the bracket. Geographically, things have to work out. Look, you figure those teams that are right in the center of the country, right? Texas and Texas Tech, Texas A&M, TCU, they all had to go somewhere. And you figured one of those four was going to Palo Alto. One of those four was going to Stanford. A couple of them were probably going to have to go to those regionals in the state of Florida. And somebody was probably going to have to go to Fayetteville. TCU ends up in Fayetteville. Texas and Texas Tech end up in the state of Florida. A&M ends up out on the West Coast at Stanford. So you're just kind of grouped together. I think when you take a look at the RPI, I just don't know what metric you're going to use to separate the two teams.
Because they're right next to each other. Texas is one spot ahead of A&M on the RPI rankings, right?
I'm looking at the RPI right now from Warren Nolan, and this is a running RPI, so Warren Nolan is still counting the RPI. As of today, Texas is 21st, A&M's 24th.
Okay.
But then you look at the strength of schedule metric. A&M's got played the sixth toughest schedule in the country. Texas was 26th in strength of schedule. Now you look non-conference strength of schedule. Here's where the regional helps Texas, Cam. Again, if the committee's going to look at these metrics, if you're going to we're going to start from scratch and kind of look at these resumes now, you look at non-conference strength of schedule. Texas is 22nd, A&M is 81st. What's helping Texas there? Indiana making it to the finals of the Lexington regional against Kentucky, and there were quite a few teams that Texas played. Granted, San Jose State's not going to do a whole lot to your RPI, but they were a conference tournament champion. They did make it to the NCAA tournament, so Texas being helped out by that non-conference strength of schedule. Again, A&M 81st. So I just don't know what you do. Money's going to be a wash because, as Craig said, the bid process has already been done. So either way, Cam, if it's Texas and Texas A&M, and again, the Aggies have to do their part. I think we all forget about that, right? Everything we're talking about could be moot. If it's Texas and Texas A&M, there's going to be one fan base tomorrow that's going to be very, very angry and feel like they got the shaft from the NCAA.
Specs Textures, who do you want to face, A&M or Stanford? 512-337-3776. It's a question I've been thinking about because obviously Stanford's the tougher team, but
so to me, as a college baseball fan and watching college baseball from the time I was a kid, those two teams, like seeing those two caps, those two logos, those two brands facing each other, Texas and Stanford, in a super regional trip to Omaha on the line. It doesn't get much better than that. It doesn't.
Yeah.
If you're a Texas baseball fan, if you're a college baseball fan, it doesn't get much better than, your road to Omaha. Hey, you got to go to Coral Gables and knock Miami out of their regional, and then maybe go to Stanford and have to knock them out of a super regional. That's a hell of a road to get to Omaha. Yeah, I'm interested to see what the text line says, Cam, because I don't know. I mean, if you're going on the road to Stanford, that's a really good team. Did you see that ball that Tommy Troy just obliterated last night on the grand slam off Josh Stewart? Georgetown native Josh Stewart, by the way. Yeah, dude, that was as big. And it was, you could feel, we were talking about it on the flagship message board at Horns 24/7. And I was like, dude, it feels like the wheels are about to come off this thing for the Aggies, because it's a 4-run game. And if you get out of that inning, granted, you're probably going to have to trade outs for runs, but if you can get out of that with like a 5-run deficit at that point, because it would have been 10-5 if you just allow 1 run, you're still kind of in it. You can still manufacture some things, but it just felt like that thing was about to come unraveled, and good Lord, Tommy Troy crushed that ball, just hit it right on, Stewart grooved one, Troy hit it right on the screws, and dude, that thing was going into the trees.
A&M, obviously, I think they're a little bit closer to Texas, and obviously Texas already beat him this year, but Jim Schlossnagle is an incredible postseason coach, so that's the one thing that I'm concerned about playing A&M, even though they aren't ranked like Stanford is ranked. Schlossnagle's been to the College World Series, both. Remember what he did at TCU was incredible, and he's already taken A&M to the World Series once.
Beat one of Augie Garrido's best teams in that 2010 Super Regional here in Austin. See, I don't necessarily agree with this. ESPN will tell the NCAA that a UT Super Regional, it said regional, but a Super Regional will draw more viewers and more revenue. I think that's a wash. You're going to tell me if that regional is played in College Station that college baseball fans won't want to view it? No, dude. If it's Texas and Texas A&M in a Super Regional, people that don't have a dog in the fight, that don't care about college baseball, will watch it. It doesn't matter if you can go play that thing in Taylor or Bastrop. It's not going to matter. People will tune in. And dude, A&M, they can. I mean, as far as revenue goes, Cam, what'd you say? There's a 500 seat difference between Bluebell and Dish Falk?
Is about 6,600 and Bluebell 6,100.
Okay, it's basically going to be a wash.
Yeah. In
terms of the revenue. So you're very, very much splitting hairs at this point. Texter says A&M because of the game time. Says Aggie, and again, A&M fans, this isn't me doing this. This is me reading off the text line. Aggie fan meltdowns always make me laugh. If they win tonight and we host the Super, their meltdowns will be epic. Stanford 1,000%. I will never root for A&M to win for the opportunity to play them. Texter said I'd rather face Stanford all day long, even if we have to travel to Palo Alto. That's not a big deal to me. Texas faced many tough opponents. I don't want to give A&M any more exposure than they already have. Cam, I've heard some Texas fans say this. It says Director's Cup impact has to be taken into consideration considering who we root for.
I like how this guy's thinking.
I'll be honest. I don't give the south end of a rat about the Director's Cup. I'm sorry. I just don't.
And for those wondering now, basically the winner of the Director's Cup this season will be decided by whether or not Stanford goes farther than Texas. Because I believe there's a great Twitter account. I believe it's Director's Cup Updates. And I believe his or hers last update said that Texas is ahead of Stanford, but a lot will depend on who goes farther in the college baseball postseason. So this does have Director's Cup implications. So if you want Texas to win it this year and win, 3 straight now after Stanford's dominated this award, then you might have to root for A&M tonight.
Are there Longhorn fans walking around with like Director's Cup championship shirts and hats?
I don't think. Do they make them?
Is that
I didn't
got a banner honestly, put up somewhere?
Honestly, as the biggest sports fan as I am, I didn't know it existed until like 4 years ago, where I heard Del Conte talk about it in his press conference. Director's Cup was it like a hockey?
Is that like the UIL does that where they tally the points and each conference gets like, I guess, the athletic department of the year? I'm like, man, is Lake Travis is Lake Travis just are the admins at Lake Travis just like, or Westlake just pounding desks like, man, because we the girls golf team didn't make it that far, we're gonna list out on the athletic director's cup or whatever it is. I don't know. It's nice, but it's one of those deals that I guess if you win it, it's cool, but if you don't, I don't think anybody's gonna be all that upset. I would much rather face A&M, the devil, again, the stand, man. That Texas and Stanford paired up. I just really like that. That's Chad Hastings' move. When you look at uniforms and logos and how they pair up, I just think Texas, Stanford, college baseball, I love it. It says A&M for sure. Having a chance to host, that's a no-brainer. A&M, it's just more fun that way, and they get to be either at home or very close to home. Better than a long flight to Cali in a different time zone. Yeah, dude, because you know you're going to get the late games if you're in the Stanford Super Regional. You're getting those late first pitches, which is going to be pretty rough.
By the way, Jeff, an update. Because of Stanford's softball team advancing, I believe, to the Women's College World Series, right now, Stanford has projected 1,376 points. Texas has 1,372. So Texas would have to advance to the College World Series, gaining 9 additional points, or a need to track results to fall in their favor to win the Director's Cup update.
I was told there would be no math involved in today's show.
Way too much math. At Director_Cup dates, if you want to follow that. Again, this could also just be a fake award, and we're
this is much ado about nothing. Did you see the Trey Richardson 3 home run game with the 2 slams yesterday? TCU taking care of Arkansas to get themselves into 2-0.
Craig talked about Earl Roberts, 21-game win streak. TCU, a team that heated up in Arlington.
You're just like OU last year, man.
Yep.
OU got really hot at the end of the year.
In 1 win away from eliminating number 3 Arkansas. TCU has no losses, so they could still lose the first game, which I believe is at 5 o'clock today, and then win the second one to advance. But TCU is another team that's really just heated up.
Trey Richardson is like he's going to be like the Al Bundy of college baseball. You know, Al Bundy scored 4 touchdowns in 1 game for Polk High. Trey Richardson can always say, I hit 2 grand slams in a regional in Fayetteville against Arkansas.
We got a great text.
11 RBI is what he had. I was mentioning that because there's some really good stats coming out. Like there's the one that I tweeted out last night. Since Texas got eliminated from the Long Beach Regional in 2017, Longhorns are 12-0 under David Pierce in regional play. They have not lost a game in a regional since they got eliminated in Long Beach.
And Texas fans were saying he's on the hot seat this year?
I mean, look.
Okay.
There's a lot of Texas fans, and I've talked to some longtime Texas baseball fans that have been following this team longer than I've been roaming this mortal earth. And there are some of those fans that just straight up don't like David Pierce for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because you had Tim Corbin or Pat Casey or whoever was on that coach, John Savage, whoever you wanted to be the head coach of Texas, of the umpteen candidates that were candidates for that job, that were up for that job, that Texas either put out feelers to or just outright contacted, wanted to hire, wanted to bring in for an interview, whatever. If you're mad that David Pierce was just so far down the list and you wish Texas had a better coach, okay, that's fine. But don't let that cloud your view of what this program has done under him and specifically what this team has done. I said going into the year, if this team got in a position to where it could host a regional, that would be a good year considering the circumstances.
Huge year.
And this team, you can say everybody gets a trophy or whatever. I'll disagree with that, but they won a share of a conference championship. They went on the road to Miami in Coral Gables and won a regional, and now they're 2 wins away from getting to Omaha. It's been a good year. You can not like David Pierce for whatever reason, but you got to give him his props today and give the staff their props. Look, we can talk about the pitchers that haven't been developed, Cam, but for LBJ to fire the first postseason complete game for this program since Chad Hollingsworth did it
what a performance
against the Aggies in 2014, they have developed LBJ. They've brought him along. He was a guy earlier in his career a couple of years ago. Yeah, he could throw it 95, 96, but, you didn't know where it was going. Now he's throwing complete games on the road in regionals.
And Texas,
that's how far that guy's gone.
And especially when you get in the regionals like this, where you have games on Sundays and Mondays where your bullpen is depleted and you got guys who you wouldn't normally want to trust in big game situations pitching, how huge of it was for Texas to only use how many arms this weekend? 4, 5?
You used
Witt,
so there was the
Hurley,
3 starters,
Morehouse,
Hurley and Morehouse, yeah.
LBJ. Incredible. Texas, I mean, maybe they do win considering how the bats heated up yesterday, but to not use anyone out of the bullpen, I mean, having a pitcher go 9 complete games, that's huge no matter what the sport is, right? No matter if it's MLB or high school baseball or college baseball, what LBJ did this weekend is huge towards Texas making it. And a real quick update, thanks for correcting me. Arkansas TCU game 1's at 2 p.m. Game the second game would be
the
at
winner
8
take
p.m.
all would be at 8. If necessary game is at 8 o'clock. Man, it sounds like Texas fans want A&M.
Yeah.
Play in Aggie land, better time zone. A lot of Stanford doesn't legalize it. Says Stanford doesn't have much of a home field advantage. Aggies all over the stadium. Yeah, so a lot of folks wanting to play the Aggies with the trip to Omaha on the line. A couple of people, Cam, say couldn't care less about the Directors Cup. This texter says, I was wearing a Directors Cup winner's shirt the other day and was accused of being a T-shirt fan.
So there is a shirt.
That's the story here.
There is a shirt.
That's the story. Hey, breaking news sounder, Cam. Breaking news sounder. Some apparel company somewhere did produce Directors Cup championship shirts. I don't know where you can get those. Perhaps some fine Longhorn outfitter near you.
Probably UT Co-op, right?
I'm sure. Somewhere down by campus. There's some of the independent stores. Maybe the team store at DKR. I don't know.
Do they make runner-up Directors Cup shirts?
Those are on the shelf with the NIT championship shirts. Yeah. And the whatever 2009 national championship football shirts didn't go to some foreign country.
Overseas.
Those are there too. The men's basketball Final Four shirts from this year. Yeah, they're all kind of over there somewhere. Just kind of off in the back corner. It's kind of like, do you know there's a grape shortage right now, Cam? A shortage of grapes.
I didn't,
because there was an issue like the grape crops were late coming in, and now there's a grape shortage. It's kind of like where I found those grapes at. That's where you can find the Directors Cup runner-up shirts. Is where I found the grapes at HEB. Because I was like, dude, why are there no grapes? Where's the grapes? And I got on my phone. I'm like, maybe they're out. Because it was a grape shortage I didn't know about. And then it's a little bitty sliver of grapes over by the mushrooms in the back corner. I'm like, oh, you don't put anything by the mushrooms. They're just kind of there because nobody ever wants to go to that section. But I found the grapes. That's where the Directors Cup T-shirts are.
Okay.
It says George says Stanford. He votes for Stanford. Yeah. So more A&M chatter than Stanford in terms of who people want to play. It says give me Stanford all day. It says what's the deal with Tanner Witt only pitching 3 innings? Is he still on a pitch count? No. The deal with him pitching 3 innings is he was terrible.
Yeah.
After the first inning, he was not very good.
So back to that question about Tanner Witt coming back another year. Now,
that's not going to happen.
But with his velocity, his movement's still there, but his velocity still isn't where it used to be. He's going to tumble in the draft, right?
Well, I think he'll still get enough money to go. I'll be very surprised if Tanner Witt's back at Texas for another year. But when you look at his velo, this is kind of where this is really the last step for him. And I asked David Pierce about this. I don't think it was in fall. I think it was in preseason back in January. About guy, and everybody's different coming back from Tommy John, but kind of what's the one thing everybody that you've coached? I mean, talking to David Pierce, that's had TJ. That what is kind of the common denominator? He said it's really getting over that hump of really being able to let it go.
Yeah, just
really trusting it and being able to let it fly. It seems like that's kind of where Tanner is right now. Because and honestly, Cam, it really wasn't the velo. I mean, the velo, granted, it's not where it was pre-injury, but it'll get there. It really wasn't the velocity that hurt him yesterday. He just lost control of his breaking ball.
Yeah.
And that breaking ball was sharp in the first inning, and he just didn't have it after that first inning.
Yeah, I wonder what Pierce will do in the Supers. So if you go to a Game 3, do you still put him out there for the first couple innings and just, hopefully you can get 3, 4, maybe 5? Because the pitch count is a what? Is it even still there?
He went, so he didn't pitch in the Big 12 tournament because they weren't in Arlington very long, but he pitched an inter-squad that Saturday. So he got eliminated Thursday, came home Friday, had a squad Saturday. He went, I think, according to David Pierce, went 3 1/3 and was right around like 50-ish pitches, if I remember right. So I think that's where you're looking at him being. We're up against it. Actually, we're past time. We need to take a break. But when we come back, Inconceivable, we'll close out hour number 1 on Light the Tower, on the Horn, live, local, and digital, on the Horn app and at hornfm.com. All right, got a couple quickies here. We'll start with Cameron Parker, the play-by-play prodigy, our esteemed producer, who has a contribution to the presentation. Cam, take it away.
I actually have two real quick.
Oh,
this one is a bit of, I don't know if it's breaking news, but if you're a Mavericks fan like yourself, Jeff, maybe turn up the dials just a bit. Shams just tweeted out 9 minutes ago, and yes, it's his real account. Kyrie Irving has reached out to Lakers star LeBron James in attempts to see if James would come to Dallas. So not reaching out to see if he could come to L.A., Kyrie's asking LeBron if he would come to the Dallas Mavericks pro basketball team. Jeff, your thoughts?
I'm going to try to temper my expectations, but
oof, that's a big report.
If you want to make Luka happy, that's probably one way to do it.
That screams Kyrie or Kyrie's agent saying, "Hey, Shams, if you tweet this out for us, we'll owe you one. We want to get the rumor started." I don't think LeBron is going to leave LA with his son playing basketball at USC, but I digress. NBA rumor mill, one of my favorite times of the year.
I don't know, man. Mark Cuban's the kind of guy. Mark Cuban's done bits with draft picks before. I mean, Mark Cuban could. I'm just spitballing here. I don't think anything comes of this, but Mark Cuban's the kind of owner that would say, "Yeah, we'll draft Bronny, no problem."
But
we'll use a draft pick.
But even then, so Kyrie's a free agent, so if he re-signs with Dallas, then Dallas will have to trade for LeBron in some capacity.
Yeah,
and if you're the Lakers, who are you gonna want? Oh yeah, give us
other than Tim Hardaway Jr.'s expiring contract.
There's nothing there unless you just give him every single draft pick. But even then, that takes away the Lakers' timeline of competing for a championship.
Yeah, you'd have to think Hardy and Green would both have to be involved somehow, and then, like I said, Tim Hardaway's salary.
I
don't know what else. I don't know what else the Mavericks would have. Yeah,
I'm sorry, Dallas Mavericks fan. The only possible way that Kyrie and LeBron are playing together next year is if Kyrie is in a Laker jersey. Anyway, next thing real quick, sticking to the sports world, Jeff, before we get to some great stories. Want to shout out Rose saying, now if you follow the amateur golf landscape, it's not too inconceivable to think about it, but Rose Sang, who has dominated the women's amateur golf game for the last few years, talked with Coach Ryan Murphy about it when he came on the show with me and Craig about what it's like to play with Rose Sang in a tournament. He said it's basically a professional golfer playing college golf, and, well, she turned pro this past weekend, Jeff. In her first pro event, she won. She is the first LPGA player to win her debut event since 1951. So congrats to Rose Sang out of Stanford.
Nice. Awesome. Cam, thank you for those sports-related contributions. I like to find wheels-off news. This isn't totally wheels-off, but it's close enough. And this will be our last one. A German court, Cam, says it is giving an 82-year-old man a, quote, last warning to avoid jail time after he was found guilty. What was this 82-year-old man found guilty of, Cam? That would warrant a last warning.
Eating too many grapes that are not allowed to eat? I don't know.
No, he was not responsible for the Mexican grape crop being behind schedule and causing a supply gap. No, this 82-year-old man, Cam, was found guilty of drug dealing. This is despite 24 previous convictions. Gramps is, dealing crack, I guess. I don't know, but whatever. I don't know what he specializes in. But the retired seaman who said he wanted to improve his meager $855, it's 800 euros, which, roughly $855 American, his monthly pension by selling marijuana. He was handed a suspended sentence by a court in the northern town of Aurich on Monday. German news agency DPA reported, and this is from the Associated Press, reported that prosecutors had asked the court to impose a prison term of 34 months in view of the man's lengthy criminal record and an existing suspended sentence. But judges said they would make an exception and classify the latest crimes as, quote, less serious offenses due to the man's particular circumstances and recent health problems. DPA quoted the presiding judge telling the defendant that this was his, quote, very last warning.
Oh, it's very last.
So Gramps is dealing the ganj. He's selling the sticky icky on the side to make a little extra income. And the judge said, no, this is it. Stop dealing in marijuana or else we'll have to throw you in jail. But if he's 82 and he has health problems, I'm guessing his bag of you-know-what's to give, that thing's empty. It was empty a long time ago. He just doesn't care.
Aren't there bigger things the prosecutors can focus on in that country?
I think that's what the judge was getting at. Like, look,
Holy
why are you wasting my time with,
He's 82 years old.
Yeah, 82. If he wants to smoke it, deal it, I don't know. Stick it where the sun don't shine.
He lives in Russia. I mean, isn't that enough to just let him get away with it?
But
oh, it's Germany. I thought it was Russia the entire time.
Germany.
Okay, well that limits a little, but still, 24 convictions. Yeah, we'll give you one more warning, bro.
What prevented you from doing something the first 24 times?
Exactly.
It's like that scene in one of the most underrated movies of my youth, Basketball, when they're messing with Squeak and goes, I swear, you guys rattle me into the 13 or 14 more times, I'm out of here.
Basketball's the actual movie? I thought it was just a made-up
No, dude,
sport.
it's a movie. It's awesome. Bob Costas and Al Michaels were excellent in that movie.
Oh, I'm definitely watching that now.
On that note, hour number 1 is done. Hour number 2 is next on Light the Tower, on the Horn, live, local, and digital, on the Horn app and at hornfm.com. So much good college baseball today, and I don't know about everybody out there, but I know I'll be watching college baseball in style thanks to Tom McKay and Audio Visual Consultations. They got my home entertainment set up the way I wanted it. They can do the same for you. Just make that call right now. 512-255-8678 is the number you need to call, 255-8678. They'll do it for you exactly what they did for me. Tom McKay came out to my house, took some measurements, and said, don't worry, we'll take care of everything. So we're going to go with a 75-inch TV. I said, it's not going to look right on that wall, is it? Well, actually, it fits perfectly on my wall. So whatever amount of space you've got in your house, in your living room, in your man cave, wherever you want your TV set up, they can make it work. They've got the latest smart TVs in stock. They've got the latest Sonos audio in stock. And if they don't have it, AV Consultations is one phone call away from being able to get it. They can get it at a moment's notice. So you want that same 75-inch setup like I've got with the Sonos sound system thumping your walls, they can make that happen. Maybe you got a little smaller space, or you want it in that man cave, in that extra room, and you need something a little smaller. They can make that happen for you too, give you a nice, clean, professional setup. Or if you want to just blow it out and get a full tilt home theater experience, get you a 150-inch screen, maybe the only thing Tom McKay loves more than a good steak or a hockey game is giving you that massive 150-inch home theater setup. Whatever your needs are, just let AV Consultations take care of it. 512-255-8678. That's 255-8678. Let Tom McKay and Audio Visual Consultations help you realize the home entertainment setup of your dreams. Hour number 2 of Light the Tower on the Horn. Jeff Howe, Cameron Parker, Craig Way on his way back to our Fairburg from sunny South Florida, humid as hell South Florida. Texas doesn't have to deal with that humidity anymore. That would
Or
be
the
a
rain.
nice weather change going from South Beach to Northern California.
Palo Alto, yeah.
I think I saw during the game last night, that A&M Stanford game, like people were wearing hoodies. It was getting a little chilly out of Sunken Diamond. So it'd be a really nice change of pace.
Did you see the milkshakes from, I believe it's Mark Light?
Yeah, Alex Rodriguez Park at Mark Light Field. Yeah. By the way, I don't think, did A-Rod show his face during the weekend?
I'm not sure. I
don't think he
didn't
did.
hear any boos across Craig Way's radio broadcast.
You heard Doug Mankiewicz? Have you heard Doug Mankiewicz? Really? Because I actually did know this. They went to high school together.
Oh, okay.
Doug Mankiewicz, former MLB first baseman, most notably played for the Twins. They went to Westminster Christian together in Miami. And Doug Mankiewicz said that based on his interactions or lack thereof with A-Rod, he was on a podcast. He said, he says, I've always said this about him. Mankiewicz talking about A-Rod. He's going to die a lonely man.
Ooh.
Like, dude, without just blatantly dog cussing somebody or saying one of those unforgivable 4-letter bombs, that's one of the worst things you could say about somebody. Like, think about that. Your insult, like, you're going to die alone, lonely.
It's up
miserable.
there. And A-Rod's also up there in the most
It's pretty rough.
despicable and dislikable
athletes
of all time.
I don't know despicable. It's just, he's just one of those guys that seems really easy to dislike. You know?
I always think about the other guys scene, because Mark Wahlberg, spoiler alert, shoots Derek Jeter in the World Series in the dugout, and the cop says, "Why didn't you shoot A-Rod?"
Like, my brother's a Yankees fan, hates A-Rod. Hates A-Rod.
I don't see a lot of A-Rod jerseys. I don't see a lot of A-Rod Rangers jerseys. I don't see a lot of A-Rod Yankees jerseys.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like, I don't know any, I mean, we're all Rangers fans here, and it's kind of like, yeah, A-Rod play here. I mean, we're talking about Rangers swept the Mariners, and Marcus Semion's, I believe, he's over at 52 runs, and the record is held by A-Rod. It's like, wow. I forgot A-Rod did play for the Rangers and was a great athlete, but he's not remembered the same way that Michael Young's remembered, the same way Nolan Ryan's remembered, the same way Adrian Beltre is remembered.
Well, you got to remember, too, the Rangers were god-awful the 3 years A-Rod was in Arlington.
And
They were terrible.
But when you have a guy like that, I mean, I guess maybe because he did force his way out of Arlington, you kind of despise him. But still, as a player, you still would remember him for what he did. I mean, he was putting up stupid numbers. As a text comes in from Jeff Mudd, A-Rod is James Spader in every movie,
man,
from 85 to 92. And that's true.
Jeff Mudd, if we had a Texture of the Day award, you would win it, sir. Thank you for your contribution. That sums it up pretty accurately.
Jeff Mudd is leading the Directors' Cup text line.
Yeah, the
right now.
Light the Tower Directors' Cup. Jeff Mudd, you get a Texas NIT championship shirt, Jeff Mudd, if you continue to hold on to your current lead. Pooped 11 times in one day, though. Pooped 11 times in one day. Let us know that they have a grape guy out on East 6. $23, $23 a pound for red grapes, $29 for green, $42 for cotton candy grapes. So,
do you have a grape guy?
I don't have a grape guy.
Okay.
No.
There you go.
No.
Thank you, pooped 11 times in one day.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your service. You're a fine patriot. Deserve to be hoisted up on our shoulders. One last text on the who would you rather face, Stanford or Texas A&M. This texter says, I care nothing for the Director's Cup, but baseball versus Stanford is of little consequence. The Director's Cup will be delivered by huge men and women's track points at the NCAAs this weekend.
I don't care, but I know exactly how it works. Okay.
Yeah. That's like, that's like a guilty pleasure movie or guilty pleasure band. Like, well, this album sucked and this album was terrible. This one was okay. And this one was good. And then they went back to the crappy stuff, but I don't care anything about them.
Yeah, that last One Direction album was awful.
See, that's where that kind of goes into my dark period for music. I probably couldn't tell you one Direction song.
Really? They got some bangers, dude.
Yeah.
They got some bangers. It's all just catchy stuff.
Was that Harry Styles? Was he in One Direction?
No, that's One Direction. Wait. What did I say? One Republic?
No, One Republic had that song with Timbaland. I know that.
That's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Did I say One Direction? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, that was Harry Styles and
okay.
and
I
Neil,
think I know one of their
Zayn.
songs. Yeah. We've had too much One Direction talk on this show. Okay. Yeah, CB brought up something that I wanted to bring up in the Longhorn Notebook, and then we'll get to the football recruiting stuff because Texas had a big weekend. Out of the 40 acres on the recruiting front. But Michael Huff is on I saw that's got this in my email on the drive in. Michael Huff is on the ballot for the 2024 College Football Hall of Fame. VY has gone in recent years. Dan Neal has been on that ballot. Now, like the College Football Hall of Fame, everybody that's deserving of being in the College Football Hall of Fame eventually gets in. They just have weird rules on who they'll let in and when guys can get in and when you're eligible. But my argument, I always go to the Pro Football Hall of Fame to find arguments on lifetime Longhorns that should be more staunchly considered or probably should be in. Like, remember when we mentioned how A-Rod's not remembered very fondly in Arlington because the Rangers were terrible while he was there? Man, if Tommy Nobis played for a franchise other than the Falcons, who were just hot garbage,
dog water,
just the football equivalent of diarrhea while he was there, Tommy Nobis would probably already be in the Hall of Fame. He's one of the few men that's on the 1960s All-Decade team who's not in the Hall of Fame.
Very unfortunate.
Probably because, again, he played for a garbage franchise with the Falcons. They were terrible at that point. But Tommy Nobis should be in. Casey Hampton's not going to get in because he just doesn't have numbers. But when you make the all-time defensive line, when you're voted by the franchise as one of the all-time defensive linemen for the Pittsburgh freaking Steelers, and you've got 2 Super Bowls, and you've been to multiple Pro Bowls, and you've been an All-Pro, Casey Hampton should get stronger consideration. He would need to be a finalist, and somebody from the city of Pittsburgh, whoever would be presenting him, would need to make a really strong case for Casey Hampton in terms of his role. Being the nose tackle in a 3-4 defense is a very thankless job, but Casey Hampton should get stronger consideration for the Pro Football Hall of Fame than he does.
I'm curious, is nose tackle the hardest position to get inducted into the Hall of Fame to play?
Other than kicker and punter, probably. Center would probably be one also. There's not as many centers in the Hall of Fame as you would think.
Yeah, that's true. Who's going to be the last one inducted? Jeff Saturday?
I don't know.
Connor Biotic?
Or even Tyler Biotic?
I don't even know his name exactly.
Like, I'll tell you an interesting one when the time comes, like Jason Kelsey.
Yeah, that's true.
Jason Kelsey will probably be a Hall of Fame center.
Because now he's got a Super Bowl ring. He's been to 2 appearances. How many All-Pro teams has he been on?
Oh, gosh, let me look that up.
He has the resume for it.
Yeah.
Because defensive tackle, only 2 make it to the All-Pro teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's tough to pick because it's a position where you don't have the stats that a defensive end will have, because defensive ends are going to more likely they're going to have more sacks, right? More TFLs. And then linebackers will come up and make all the tackles. Even though the nose tackle is making the play at the line of scrimmage, it's still the linebacker who's going to come in and clean up and get those numbers, get those stats, the tackles. It's tough for a nose tackle because they don't get the love. You mentioned it's a thankless job. I would think it would be the toughest one to get consideration in the build a Hall of Fame career, even though you might have one.
This is the list of centers that are in the Hall of Fame, and I'm just pulling this up from the Pro Football Hall of Fame website. You got Jim Langer. Chuck Bednarik doesn't really count because he's in the Hall of Fame technically as a 2-way player from back in the day. What a badass Chuck Bednarik was. Played from 1949 to 1962, and damn near killed Frank Gifford in a game one time. So you ever seen that, Cam, on some of those old NFL films videos?
The one getting killed?
Well, yeah, where Chuck Bednarik just lays Frank Gifford out, and then he's standing over him like he's going to punch him with his fist raised in the air. I heard Bednarik talk about that one time. He said he wasn't trying to hit him. He just said he hit Gifford, and then he just looked over him and raised his fist, and he said out loud, he said, "This effing game is over." What a badass Chuck Bednarik. So you've got Dermontti Dawson, Frank Gatsky. Let's see. Mike Webster is a center in the Hall of Fame. Kevin Mawai, Dwight Stevenson, Jim Otto, Jim Ringo. So pretty much there's one per kind of era of football that ends up getting in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, like Dermontti Dawson pretty much covers the 90s. Kevin Mawai is going to cover the 2000s. I would think Jason Kelsey would be the next center in the Hall of Fame. But yeah, center, nose tackle in the 3-4, kicker and punter, probably the toughest positions to make the Hall of Fame in.
Because Kelsey made it on All-Pro last year. A sneaky pick for possibly being the next center in after this current era ends, Creed Humphrey. Kansas City, because he's going to have the Super Bowl resumes.
Yeah.
He's going to be, as the best team in football year after year, you're probably going to get named to the All-Pro team as a center.
That's kind of one of those deals, that's by association, right? Like you're Patrick Mahomes center for the prime of his career. You're going to get consideration. Jason Kelsey, 5-time first-team All-Pro, 6-time Pro Bowls. So, yeah, I think Jason Kelsey's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, looking at going through all the All-Pro teams last year, he's been first-team center on pretty much every single one.
And B&E had Jamal Charles on this morning. Jamal makes a really strong case for being in the Hall of Fame. The ring thing and the playoff thing, it doesn't impact running backs as much as it does quarterbacks, which is Super Bowl championships are basically how all quarterbacks are judged at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Jamal's got, the NFL, the career record for average yards per rushing attempt. When you're breaking records or you're right up there with Jim Brown in some records, you're going to get Hall of Fame consideration. The shame is that Priest Holmes got injured when he did. Because, again, you look at that 3-year run Priest had from 01 to 03, that's as good or better any 3-year run that any running back has had in the history of football. I mean, Priest Holmes was that good over those 3 years. It's just after those 3 years, he was done. And the difference between Priest Holmes and a guy like Terrell Davis won 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Won an MVP, had a 2,000-yard season. But Terrell Davis, very short shelf life. Gale Sayers, another one, very short shelf life, but very memorable. I think Priest or Jamal, and again, that's the thing with Priest is Jamal Charles has better numbers and I think played longer, more visible to people. So I think of those two guys, Jamal would probably get more Hall of Fame consideration, even though Priest, hell of a career.
All three should be in the fantasy football Hall of Fame. I think Terrell Davis basically invented fantasy football.
That would be Priest Holmes. LaDainian Tomlinson was the first. Priest Holmes and LaDainian Tomlinson were the 2 first great fantasy players that I remember. I don't know if it would be Terrell Davis. That must have been like primitive fantasy.
That's what I'm saying.
Because
by the time you got to
it was popular. By the time you got to the 2000s, Terrell Davis was done.
Terrell Davis was when people they would have to manually write it down in your notebook, and then some dude.
That's still when they were just calling it old school, just rotisserie football, rotisserie league football.
Speaking of centers, one guy I was thinking of, now the Specs text line kind of reading my mind, Travis Frederick, before his career ended, Jeff. 6 years in the league.
He was on his way there, yeah.
First team All-Pro, 2-time second team All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, which, of course, does not mean anything. He was on the All-Rookie team. He was the guy that, if not for, going down with a very awful nerve disease
Guillain-Barré syndrome.
Yeah.
But again, like we talked about with centers, it seems to be more of a generational thing or an era thing. There's like one per era. I think Jason Kelsey will get in before Travis Frederick.
Yeah, I don't know if Frederick will get in because there's a lot of guys who have one first team All Pro. Does not mean you're
Cowboys fans that are not old enough to remember the guy I'm about to mention. Travis Frederick is your Eric Williams. You can say if Travis Frederick doesn't suffer from Guillain-Barré syndrome, Travis Frederick's in the Hall of Fame.
He's still a starting center for Dallas. He's still our starting center.
Yes.
We're not worried about is it going to be Biotic or whoever. It's okay. We have Frederick at center. He's the guy.
I firmly believe if Eric Williams does not have that car accident, he's in the Hall of Fame right now.
Yeah.
He was. Oh, Cam, you should have been around to see Eric Williams in his prime. I never saw Reggie White get manhandled until he did. That's why, two of my and I'm glad Tony Baselli eventually got in. I never saw anybody manhandle Reggie White the way Eric Williams did. And, dude, I never saw anybody stone Bruce Smith the way Tony Baselli did.
Yeah.
That's, dude, when you're handling Bruce Smith by yourself as a youngster in the NFL, Tony Baselli was so good before the injury. It does seem like offensive linemen get a little more leeway, but, dude, Eric Williams, if he doesn't have that car accident, the Cowboys probably have another Super Bowl on top of him being in the Hall of Fame. That's how important he was to that team.
Also on the College Football Hall of Fame ballot, thanks to Chris Bennett, CB, Michael Orr.
Oh, nice.
The Blind Slide. And, of course, as CB reminds us, not a big fan of that movie. And I think I understand.
Why would you not be a big fan of the movie?
I think just because of the way Michael Orr isn't a big fan of the movie because of the way he's portrayed.
Yeah, the kind of the shy, meek, understated guy.
And also on the ballot, Ron Mexico.
Yes, Michael Vick. So let me run this down. I just now see the release from the release with the
Dylan Haynes also on it. That's incredible.
How dare you, Cam? Dylan Haynes is not up there for me. There's
sorry, wrong list. My bad.
There are a couple people who you will not slander while I'm on this show.
Dylan Haynes is one of them?
No.
Okay.
Actually, if you want the white defensive back conversation, Rod Babers will stick up for any white defensive back. He feels really bad because Rod Babers killed off the white cornerback in the NFL when the Giants drafted him to replace Jason Sehorn and gave him Jason Sehorn's number. So Rod's been sticking up for white DBs and carrying that flag for them, waving it proudly since then.
Did Rod and Sehorn have a relationship at all? Did he reach out and here's some advice for you, rookie? Or was he just like, screw you, dude?
I don't know. I don't. And Giants fans, some Giants fans, I've read some Giants fans blogs that are not very kind to Rod B. I'm like, don't blame Rod, blame Ernie Accorsi. He's the one that did that. Jim Fossil's the one that did that. Rod didn't ask for that.
Gave it to him.
Yeah. Your College Football Hall of Fame ballot for this year, Flozell, speaking of great Cowboys offensive tackles, Flozell the Hotel Adams, Monty Ball, Aaron Beasley, former West Virginia defensive back, Eric Bieniemy on the College Football Hall of Fame ballot. Boy, you talk about Colorado football in the early to mid-'90s being a force. Eric Bieniemy was behind that. Man, did not pan out at all in the NFL, but you won't find many college receivers better than Justin Blackmon when he was at Oklahoma State. He's on the ballot. The late, great Jerome Brown out of the U, he's on the ballot. Larry Burton out of Purdue is on the ballot. Boy, you played a long time ago when split end is your listed position. A guy that I know Texas fans have night terrors about still, Rocky Kalmus, former OU linebacker, Greg Carr, former Auburn linebacker, is on the ballot. Mark Carrier out of USC, the defensive back Mark Carrier, not the wide receiver. He's on the ballot. Boy.
Dude, tell me how this ballot works. How is Monty Ball on the same ballot as Michael Vick when they played 20 years apart?
It's weird rules. We'll get to that in just a minute. Kijana Carter is on the ballot. You talk about what ifs. Blew out his knee on that old Silverdome turf in his first preseason game, was never the same after being the number 1 overall pick in the 95 draft. Russell Carter from SMU, Matt Cavanaugh from Pitt, Dallas Clark, former Iowa tight end, Marco Coleman from Georgia Tech, Tim Couch, former number 1 overall pick out of Kentucky. It's college football. Tim Couch put up ridiculous numbers.
When did he play?
Late 90s.
Before I was born.
Brad
and he's on this list
then you
with
got
Fitzgerald.
Then you've got Brad Culpepper out of Florida, who's a really good defensive tackle. Kenneth Davis from TCU in the mid-'80s. Jarrett Dillard out of Rice. Ken Dorsey from Miami. DJ Dozier from Penn State. Vaughn Dunbar out of Indiana. Warwick Dunn, really good running back group on the ballot. Warwick Dunn, Greg Esslinger, another Colorado great from back in the day. Deion Figures, Larry Fitzgerald. Willie Galt out of Tennessee. Toby Gerhart is on the ballot.
I tore up some Pac-12 defenses in NCAA football 9 with Toby Gerhart.
He was in the Heisman race that I felt that Dominican Sue should have won in 2009. Dan Hampton, how is Dan Hampton not already in the College Football Hall of Fame from his time at Arkansas?
He played in the 70s.
Kevin Hardy out of Illinois. Graham Harrell on the ballot. Leotis Harris, Marvin Harrison, Garrison Hurst, Josh Heupel, Craig Ironhead Hayward, Ken Huff, Michael Huff, Damian Hughes, Steve Hutchinson, Brady James, Ed King of Auburn, Levon Kirkland, who shout out to the 300-pound linebackers back in the day, Olin Kreutz, Antonio Langham, James Laurinaitis.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan Leaf on the ballot.
Oh, boy.
John Lee, a place kicker out of UCLA. Andy Levitri from Oregon State. Todd Light out of Notre Dame. Marshawn Lynch is on the ballot. Herman Moore from his time at Virginia. Kellen Moore. Terrence Newman, who was in the same defensive back draft class as Rod. Terrence Newman played longer than any of those DBs drafted. I think it was 14, 15 years in the league.
Cowboys legend.
Haloti Ngata, Ken Norton Jr., Michael Oher, Julius Peppers, Paul Posluszny, Antoine Randall, Simeon Rice, Ron Rivera, Matt Russell, another Colorado Buffalo, Larry Sievers, Dewey Selman, Richard Seymour, Alex Smith, Darren Smith out of the U, Kevin Smith, one of the best corners this state has produced out of Texas A&M by way of West Orange Stark, Takeo Spikes, Taylor Stubblefield, Purdue wide receiver, Terrell Suggs, Dennis Thurman from his time at USC, Michael Vick, Chris Ward, Ohio State offensive tackle from the 70s. This guy should be in already. Maybe in the top 5 of college football players I've seen in my lifetime. You go back and watch you some highlight tapes of Peter Warrick at Florida State if you want to talk about electric guys in the pre-social media era that would have just blown up. Peter Warrick was one of those dudes. Eric Weddle and Luis Zendejas. The coaches, candidates, Larry Blakeney from Troy, Jim Carlin in West Virginia, Pete Cawthon Sr., Larry Coker, Ralph Friedgen, Mark D'Antonio, Darrell Rogers, Frank Solich, and the Senator, Tommy
Himself.
Tuberville. Tubbs is on the ballot. Then you've got divisional player candidates from lower divisions: Ashley Ambrose, Archie Emerson, Rick Beeler, Rennie Ben, Bill Borchardt, John Both, Carl Boyd. The list goes on and on. Let's see if anybody from the state of Texas. Bruce Colley from UT Arlington, who I believe still lives in the area. You know, he lived out toward Wimberley, or out in Wimberley at the time. Just seeing if there's anybody in the divisional list from the state of Texas. Nobody that I'm seeing on this list as I scroll through it. I know this makes for really good live radio, but I apologize. Yeah, but gosh, there's a lot of names on that list. So anyway, congratulations to those men on the College Football Hall of Fame ballot.
I don't know how they decide it, Jeff, but it sucks. They got to redo it. You can't have guys from the 70s in the same bracket or the same ballot as from the 2010s.
Yeah, I don't care about the breaks of the clock or whatever. Here's your criteria, Cam. So had to have received first team All-America recognition by a selector that is recognized by the NCAA. I believe the 5 are Sporting News.
Lindy's?
No, Sporting News, the Associated Press, the Football Writers Association, the AFCA, and which one am I missing? Oh, the Walter Camp All-America team. Those are the 5 that are recognized by the NCAA. Player becomes eligible.
You just need to get one on the ballot once for that? You just need to be named to just one of those ballots to be eligible for the...
Yep.
Okay.
Player becomes eligible for consideration by the Foundation's Honors Court 10 seasons after their final intercollegiate football season. While each nominee's football achievements in college are prime consideration, his post-football record as a citizen is also weighed. So probably not. Michael Vick's probably not getting it if that's the case. He must have proven himself a worthy citizen, carrying the ideals of football forward into his relations with the community. Consideration may also be given for academic honors and whether the candidate earned a college degree. Players must have played their last year of intercollegiate football within the last 50 years. A coach becomes eligible 3 full seasons after retirement. Nominations may only be submitted by the current athletics director, head coach, or sports information director of a candidate's college institution. That's what I wonder about. How many SIDs and ADs don't know a guy's in the College Football Hall of Fame?
Where is the college football? Is it Atlanta?
Is it Atlanta? Yeah.
I think I've been there before.
No, Texters. The old Playboy All-America team does not count. You know they used to do that, Cam, back in the day?
That's incredible.
The Playboy preseason All-American team, they take them out to the Playboy Mansion and they kind of spend a couple days out in Cali.
Didn't Leinart do that?
Matt Leinart was on that, yeah. A couple Texas guys, I think Mike Williams, maybe Quentin Jammer, I think, was one of the last few. Leonard Davis. There was that probably 05, 06 was the last time they did the Playboy bit. They haven't done it in a minute. And you know, that issue was was one of the most bought issues of the year because you had to see who was in that All-American team.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
How many issues did you have of that? How many copies?
I've got I don't think I have them anymore, but I was going through some stuff and one of the moves I made recently. I had a couple. I think I want to say it was like Mike Williams and Quentin Jammer. Was Roy Williams on one of those teams? I think there was a couple like from the early 2000s that I had, and one random from like 89 or 90, something like that. So at any rate, that's going to do it for the Playboy conversation and the College Football Hall of Fame conversation. Take a break, come back, Flex Update, and a Longhorn Notebook on the other side. Only at the Tower, on the Horn, live, local, and digital, on the Horn app and at hornfm.com.
eating right. Money, power, respect. Money, power, respect. Money, power,
hey, yo, my whole clique bout it. We take yours while you pout about it. Truck, step out, wanna crowd around it. You can see me on
I like,
TV.
there's some Facebook memes or Twitter memes, Cam, that really entertain me. There's one, it's from a pro LeBron James Twitter account that said, this is how long LeBron has been dominating the league. And it's a picture of him and Jason Tatum standing side by side in the game. And right next to it is a picture of LeBron with Jason Tatum. And Jason Tatum has to be like 8 years old in this picture.
Yeah. I've seen that picture before. Yeah, LeBron's pushing 40 years old almost, guys.
Yeah. And a soon-to-be Dallas Maverick.
Yeah. Sure.
Are you glad, Cam, that like Gen Pop is figuring out, like when Shams or Woj or even on the NFL side, like Adam Schefter or Tom Pelissero take your pick of insiders, that everybody's caught onto the bit, like when they report something that sounds kind of outlandish, everybody's kind of caught on the bit like, oh, that's coming from an agent. They just trying to get some stuff stirred up.
I don't know. Is it?
I feel like it's becoming more commonplace that people know it's an agent bit going on.
Maybe. I would hope so, but I still see, like, I guarantee if I open up Twitter right now, I'm going to see 8 tweets in a row of LeBron with a Mavericks jersey photoshopped onto him.
You know what? Let's do an experiment real quick before we get to the
Instagram.
flex update.
It'll be I'll get a Bleacher Report notification. First look at LeBron in a Mavericks uniform.
Let's see. Well, yeah, Chris Haynes is also reporting this. Let's see. I'm trying to find if they've done it yet. This is just Kyrie and LeBron pictures. No, Cam, you want to make that happen once we're done with the show?
Not
you
enough
upload
time
the podcast
yet for the poor social
there
media
it is.
intern.
There it
See
is.
One?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, look at this. That's a horribly done. That's like the worst. That's the laziest Photoshop ever. It's like they took a Luka Doncic jersey from like NBA Live '98 and put it over LeBron. Dude, that's a horrible Photoshop. Well, there it is. No, somebody did it. Somebody did it right, Cam. There it is.
Yep, there it is. Luka, LeBron.
Somebody put some effort into that one. It's Luka, LeBron, and Kyrie. That's much better effort than the. Good Lord, that first. You should be banned from Twitter for doing a Photoshop that bad. That is abysmal right there. Good Lord. All right, let's go ahead and get to the flex update. I'm very happy that there's an outcry on the Specs text line from 2 texters wondering how the heck Peter Warrick is not in the College Football Hall of Fame already. He should be.
That entire list.
Go down the YouTube rabbit hole, kids. Everybody's gonna talk about, Michael Vick was awesome at Virginia Tech, and he was. Yeah. Go watch that Sugar Bowl. And when you're watching Michael Vick highlights, go also watch Peter Warrick go run up and down the field on Virginia Tech in that game. So anyway, it's a YouTube assignment, boys and girls. Peter Warrick from Florida State back in the day. All right, Cam, what you got?
So some quick shout-outs. Of course, the NCAA postseason now, there's a handful of guys on the UT roster that are from the Centex area that have played their high school baseball in the Centex area. I mean, you can give Len Passes some credit, too, with Ace Whitehead, Cameron O'Bannon. There's a handful of guys. But also, how about the University of Pennsylvania? Former Bowie baseball standout Seth Werchin. Got a few texts coming on the Specs text line as well about him, so congrats to him. Pennsylvania playing a do-or-die game today against Southern Miss, 2 o'clock Central, so you can watch that. But a chance for a couple more Centex area guys to be making their way into the Super Regionals. And, of course, some high school baseball updates real quick, Jeff. There was 3 Centex teams in the regional finals. Taylor, they won Game 1, lost Games 2 and 3 to a really good China Springs program. So China Springs to the state tournament. Congrats to the Taylor Ducks on a great year. Westlake, number 3 ranked team in the state, taking on San Antonio Johnson. They swept them. 2 games. They won Game 1 on Thursday night 4-3. And then they beat the Jags 3-1, a come-from-behind performance. They were down 1-0 early, tied it up, then added 2 more runs in the 8th inning and extra innings to win it 2-0. So congrats to Westlake on advancing. Ty Shapiro with a big double in the 8th inning to advance. So they'll take on, it's not Pearland. I learned it, Jeff. It's Pearland.
Pearland, yeah.
So they'll take on Pearland in the state tournament this week. First game going to be at 7 p.m. on Friday. Cypress Woods taking on Flower Mound at 4 p.m. And then the state championship game, which will be at Dell Diamond, will be at 4 p.m. 6A. Real quick on that, Jeff, I had a few people text me asking, why not play A&M Texas at Dell Diamond? Well, it's because the state tournament is there that week. So
Occupado.
Maybe Minute Maid is open. And then 5A, Rouse Raiders, another team. They won their first game against Bernie Champion 9-3 and then lost games 2 and 3 to the Chargers to be eliminated. But a great year for Rouse, coming up short, but a great season for the Raiders. So there is one Centex team left in state. It's the Westlake Shaps.
Goldberg's kid plays for Champion, right?
I
Doesn't
think
his
so.
son play at Champion? I think so. Yeah.
And actually, I believe Seth Werchin, as known Hogan, has just reminded me, committed to Texas as a grad transfer, right? Maybe?
I don't know.
Don't know? We'll double check. We'll double check that. But yeah, that's the flex update for you, Jeff.
Real quick, I do have a flex update.
He has committed to Texas as a grad transfer. I just confirmed it.
I would like to contribute to the flex update if I could.
Oh, please.
Let me spit that out if I can talk right today. Adrian Wilson, we've got him at 24/7 Sports. We've got him as a 4-star prospect, top 150 prospect in the country, an outstanding wide receiver at Weiss. He visited Texas this weekend for the elite camp. There was some thought that he was an offer candidate, and he was, but an offer for him hasn't been reported at this point. My man Mike Roach, who now is covering the state of Texas for 24/7 Sports, Mike has put in a crystal ball prediction, 24/7 Sports crystal ball prediction for Adrian Wilson in favor of Oklahoma. So there you have it, little local recruiting tidbit in the flex update. All right, let's go ahead and get to the notebook. If you need to get updated on the Texas Elite Day, or the Elite Camp, that happened over the weekend, Steve Sarkeesian and company, a really productive weekend on the recruiting trail, get over to Horns 24/7, our outstanding recruiting staff, Hudson Standish, Hank South, Jordan Scruggs, those guys killed it over the weekend. A lot of good information. The Stampede, even though Mike is gone, the Stampede is still getting posted. That was live at 8 a.m. today. Jordan had some nuggets posted, a lot of good content from Hank South, and a lot of Hank's content centers around KJ Lacey, 4-star quarterback, top 247 quarterback, one of the best quarterback prospects in the country for the class of 2025. He, of Saraland, Alabama, is committed to the University of Texas. The Longhorns are on the board in the class of 2025 with a quarterback. And Cam, I'm sure you've read the content, but you see the measurables on KJ Lacey, 5'11", 165 pounds. You watch the film.
Mm-hmm.
The Bryce Young comparisons have already started.
Yeah.
With KJ Lacey.
Saw his huddle over the weekend after he committed, and got to say, like what I saw. And there's a chance, too, because is it the Mr. Football, also the wide receiver in Alabama, the number 1 ranked receiver, correct? Is that correct?
Yes,
2025?
His teammate, yep.
His teammate, there you go. So Lancey, maybe going to do a little Arch Manning, recruiting during this 2025 cycle. Now, real quick, because I have not been immersed in recruiting with baseball season going on, did you know this was coming pretty quickly, or were you a little bit surprised by the commitment over this weekend from KJ?
That would probably be a better question for the recruiting guys. They're in it day to day. So, they had a hunch, because Hank and Jordan, they were prepared for everything that happened. So they had a hunch.
Did you tweet out, if you were a subscriber, you would have known this was coming? Did you do any of those tweets?
No,
okay.
nothing like that. You just tweet. I didn't even tweet anything. I'm more of a retweeter. Kim.
Yeah.
I like to be a little more of a retweeter or a quote tweeter. That's honestly the thing about
on Twitter.
That's the thing about Darren Ravel that aggravates me the most is he'll just steal people's tweets.
Yep.
Like, oh yeah, I credited him. No, just quote tweet it or just retweet it. Anyway, I'm getting my blood pressure up thinking about Darren Ravel. But Hank South caught up with Jeff Kelly. He is KJ Lacey's head coach at Saraland. And here's just some tidbits that Hank posted this morning on the flagship message board at Horns 24/7. Jeff Kelly said from the neck, quote, from the neck up is what makes him special. Noted that his football IQ and his ability to read defenses, make quick decisions, and when the play breaks down, and still be able to create, all those things make him special. He said his personality and swagger rubs off on everyone in the locker room and makes everyone better. Kelly said that extends to Saraland, the school too. Very popular kid on campus whose energy is contagious. Kelly said it was very obvious early on that Lacey would be special. He said he shines the brightest in pressure situations, and no moment is too big for him. Saraland got into some high-scoring shootouts in the playoffs, and Lacey excelled. They played a strong Hillcrest team from Tuscaloosa, and the Spartans put up 56 points in 2.5 quarters. Kelly said he feels Lacey is an excellent fit for Steve Sarkisian and A.J. Milwee and what they're trying to accomplish. So the high school coach thinks it's a great fit. And, I'll trust Sark and A.J. Milwee on quarterback evals until I have a reason not to.
Yeah. And from what I've heard, too, Jeff, the region he plays high school ball in, is it Saraland or Saraland? Saraland. Really tough region. Really tough region. Probably the second-base program across all state levels in the state of Alabama. We mentioned the wideout going to Alabama was number 1 currently in 2025. It's a pretty new program outside of Mobile, but it's a very high competitive type of area, right? So a lot of people made a big deal out of Arch Manning's, the district he played in, or the level he played in Louisiana. This is different. This kid plays in a very tough area of high school football in Alabama, too.
I'll say this too. Sorry, I was right in the middle of looking. I shouldn't look at the text line while I'm gathering my thoughts.
Seen more LeBron jerseys?
No, I'm trying to look away from the LeBron memes. No, I think the thing about KJ Lacey being special and Sark, and AJ Milwee targeting him right now and getting your 2025 quarterback commitment out of the way. That's typically the time you see this kind of stuff go down, is the summer before the prospect's junior year. That's when you typically got to move on these guys and make the decision and go with it. We saw Tom Herman's staff do that with their quarterback takes. So it's just the nature of the beast at that position. But the thing that intrigues me the most about KJ Lacey, and Cam, you mentioned watching his film, the fact that from a body type standpoint, he's completely different than the other quarterbacks that Sark has recruited, because he's recruited all the guys on campus right now, right? Like Quinn's 6'3", 200+. Malik Murphy was Malik 6'5", 6'6".
Big dude.
230.
Big dude.
Big guy. Arch Manning. Arch is 6'4", 6'5". Gonna be in that 225 to 230 range. Trey Owens in the class of 2024. Trey Owens, 6'4", 200+ pounds. And then you've got KJ Lacey at 5'11", 165. So that just shows you the special kind of arm talent, the special kind of ability to play the position that Sark feels this kid had. And you could say the same thing about when Sark helped recruit Bryce Young at Alabama. Like, Bryce Young didn't look like some of those other Alabama quarterbacks.
That's true. But it stood out to them what he could do. I think that tells you that should be a huge sign that Sark took this kid, even though he is under 6 feet tall. Yeah.
So again, KJ Lacey is the quarterback take for Texas in the class of 2025. And anytime you get your quarterback take out of the way, if you know who you want, go after him, get it done. 24/7 Sports, our in-house rankings, KJ Lacey, the number 112 overall prospect in the country. He's number 70 overall in the 24/7 Sports composite ranking. So that's your Longhorn notebook for this hour.
And real quick, Jeff.
Yes.
2025 class, just looking over it, it's not a quarterback-heavy class, is it, compared to recent years?
I'll be honest, Cam, I've not done my in-depth research on the class of 2025.
Put it in the spot. We'll come back to tomorrow. How about that?
Yeah. I'll do that. I'll do some homework tonight and come back to you in the morning. All right, take a break, come back. Going to close out this edition of Light the Tower on the Horn, live, local, and digital, on the Horn app and at hornfm.com. Cam and I were just having a conversation off the air. How many people listening right now have ever gotten nauseous on the drive down 1431 going from Cedar Park to Lago Vista? Or if you decided, like I've done a few times just because you had nothing better to do, going from our Fairburg over to Marble Falls and taking 1431 to get there? It's you're doomed to, you need some Dramamine for that drive.
If you're not a big fan of the ups and downs, then yeah. Because I used to make that drive all the time back when I was an Amazon driver long ago. And those things can only go a certain amount of miles per hour.
Back when you were having to go #1 in Gatorade bottles.
Yep. And you have people up there riding your tail. Riding your tail, and you're going up and down. Yeah. It is a pretty drive. It is scenic, but it's one
Very
that
scenic.
After you do it 2 times in a day, you're like, all right, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
Back in high school when Lago Vista was in our district, like we'd go over there for basketball. It's like, as long as I don't, get sick on the bus ride over there, probably going to be okay.
Yeah.
If I can just avoid getting nauseous and, losing my cookies before this game starts, we'll be all right. Cam, what you got going on the rest of the day?
Maybe some pickup basketball, Jeff. I don't know.
Yeah.
You?
You going to mess around and get a triple-double?
No, definitely not.
Okay, well.
Mess around and throw my shoulder out, probably.
You'll get an A for effort, I'm sure.
Thank
Cam. Craig will be back in tomorrow. I know I'm going to be out on Wednesday because I've got an appointment to get to. But depending on who wins tonight, where the Super is, if travel's involved, that will determine our broadcast schedule for the rest of the week in terms of who will be here. We know Cam will be here, doing a great job as he always does.
Yes, sir.
But my availability, Craig's availability, that is TBD right now. Stay locked in to the Horn. Chad and Zay are coming up next. Cam, thanks for everything, man. Great job today.
Cheers, Jeff.
For the absent Craig Way, for Cameron Parker, I am Jeff Howe. Thank you so much for listening, and we will be back tomorrow to light the tower on the Horn, live, local, and digital, on the Horn app and at hornfm.com.